In October 1996, every television, radio, and scanner in Blackwood County suddenly cut to static at exactly 1:13 a.m. A voice pushed through the interference. Calm, emotionless, and distinctly male, it delivered a single instruction: do not let them inside your house after the knocking starts. This topographical map of Blackwood County plots the locations of the isolated rural properties that received the signal. By sunrise, 17 distinct households were entirely empty. Police found dinners still warm on tables and front doors wide open, but no signs of a struggle and no physical evidence left behind. Local authorities quickly shut down any investigation. They claimed the broadcast tower at the mountain's peak, allegedly responsible for the signal, had actually burned down and been abandoned 14 years earlier, in 1982. 30 years after the disappearances, a documentary filmmaker named Ryan Hale drove into Blackwood County to dig up its buried history. His investigation failed, and he never returned, but Ryan left behind severely degraded audio and videotapes. By dissecting his recovered media, we can reconstruct the exact hunting strategies of the entity that took him. Hale's tapes provide a forensic look at the specific mechanical steps taken to facilitate a supernatural mass disappearance. Ryan arrived during a heavy rainstorm. The town was tiny, heavily forested, and intensely hostile to cameras. The moment he mentioned the 1996 broadcast, the locals stopped talking entirely. He finally secured a recorded interview with a retired sheriff named Walter Griggs. Griggs explained that the midnight knocking was always accompanied by voices. The predator outside flawlessly copied the voices and physical appearances of a victim's family members, begging to be let in. Survivors noted specific physical anomalies in these copies. They maintained prolonged, unblinking smiles. If a light was shone on them, their eyes reflected the glare unnaturally, like an animal caught in flash. Later that night, Ryan's own motel audio recording captured a distorted voice bleeding through heavy static on his phone. It was his mother, crying and pleading to be let inside. She had been dead for 8 years. The tape records heavy knocking at his exterior door. Then the knocking abruptly teleports. It ceases at the hallway entrance and immediately resumes from inside the interior wall directly beside Ryan's bed. By weaponizing the voices of the deceased, the entity breaks down a victim's resistance through emotional exhaustion and a collapse of logical reasoning. Ryan fled the motel, his dashcam recording as he drove his truck deep into the mountain roads. The environment was completely dead. No insects, no birds, just thick fog sliding between the trees. Then, out of nowhere, his headlights caught her, a barefoot woman in a white dress, soaked in freezing mud. She stood motionless in the rain, pointing directly into the dense pine forest. Following her direction, Ryan's camera captured an impossible structure rising above the trees. The rusted radio tower stood perfectly intact, completely contradicting the town's historical records of its destruction. Ryan looked back to the road. The woman had instantly closed the distance, standing inches from his driver's side window. Smiling unnaturally wide, she whispered that they now knew his voice. Every electronic device inside the truck died simultaneously. Total darkness swallowed the road. Seconds later, heavy knocking began, not from the trees, but from within the enclosed bed of his own truck. By forcing its prey into geographic isolation and actively destroying their technology, the entity strips away all external reality checks. The victim is trapped alone, exactly when their own voice is weaponized against them. Ryan abandoned the truck and hiked to the tower. His camera recorded his entry into the broadcast room. It was covered in decades of dust, yet the radio equipment was fully operational. Pinned to the burned walls was a morbid ledger, composed entirely of missing person flyers, Polaroids, and newspaper clippings, connected by dark red string, beginning with the original 17 victims from 1996. At the end of the string, Ryan found the final item. It was a pristine, freshly developed photograph of himself, taken as he entered his motel room earlier that exact evening. The broadcast equipment abruptly activated. Through the static, Ryan heard his own voice broadcasting over the speakers. calmly demanding he open the door. The door handle began to shake. Then multiple voices overlapped from the hallway. His mother, the waitress, the retired sheriff. Every single person Ryan had spoken to that day began violently pounding on the heavy door in unison. The photographic evidence points to a hunter that operates with clinical patience, studying every move of its target well before the night of the abduction. The final, heavily degraded frames of Ryan's footage are filmed from beneath the broadcast desk. The door creaks open, and at least 6 figures breach the room, their bare, mud-covered feet stepping slowly in perfect synchronization. One figure crouches directly in front of the lens. It is an exact physical copy of Ryan. It smiles softly and whispers the biological rule governing the hunt. They only need permission once. The 1996 broadcast functioned as a strategic funnel. The entity hijacked the town's emergency frequency to broadcast instructions that ensured homeowners would be trapped inside, waiting for the knocking to begin. Blackwood County still exists. Travelers rarely stop there, but locals confirm that strange emergency signals continue to interrupt storm broadcasts at exactly 1:13 a.m. The most dangerous weapon a supernatural predator possesses isn't physical strength. It is our inherent human desperation to comfort the people we love.